are the targets I gave you. What kind of pops out immediately?
Well, they are centered at 0.
They're roughly centered at 0.
Yeah.
People have a very good idea of like where the price should be.
Yeah.
And if it's not very tight, then there's a little uncertainty around what this price is.
That's right. Okay.
It's one measure of kind of the amount of predictive power that your predictions have, the amount of like variance explained that your predictions are accounted for. But it's not the only measure. It's just like a reasonable choice.
Sure.
Improvement, 34% improvement over any single feature, which is
That single feature, yeah.
yeah, which is pretty good. But like, I'll say this. Any feature you add in a linear model is going to improve or like at least leave R squared flat. Because R squared...
At the worst, you just don't consider it.
At the worst, you just put it's a convex problem.
Yeah.
And so at the worst, you just like assign it 0.
Yeah.
What might be meaningful, you might think, is how much more predictive power do you have over everyone else? So like maybe you're not explaining much of the variance, but you're explaining more variance than other people. And so you can like price better than other people. And that is enough. One thing that we deal with in like...
That's pretty cool if you think about it. So maybe your predictions aren't necessarily correct in price. You're predicting price, at the end of the day, whether you're using indicators, machine learning, whatever, you're always trying to predict price. So maybe your price predictions aren't necessarily correct, but they're better than the majority of others. And remember, this is PvP. So if you're better than the majority of others, you should be able to take money from them. Sorry to be so aggressive there, but it's very important to know that when you're making money, you're taking from somebody else. So trading is. That's why it's fierce competitors up in this. And it's just people spend all day trying to build out their systems and their models. You see me here.
Real life, the markets change rather rapidly. And so your models are going to degrade. The parameters that you compute are going to degrade. And so like some measure of that is kind of interesting to think about.
How you construct the features, how you train them, like everything here, there's like each like little thing we like barely talked about is like branches into 10,000 different decisions.
Yeah. But I hope that you like now realize, just given like the complexity, how it occupies, hundreds of very smart people for years.
Right, yeah.
Hundreds of smart people for years. Okay, there was one point here I wanted to write down.
And maybe that's an current mid minus the previous mid divided by the previous mid.
Okay, here we go.
Previous returns. Then like you can compute like the current mid minus the previous mid divided by the previous mid. That gives you kind of the return over the past like 100 some events. And maybe that's an interesting feature.
What is the shape of the prediction?
Okay, so these are the targets I gave you. What kind of pops out immediately? Previous returns. Then like you can compute like the current mid minus the previous mid divided by the previous mid. That gives you kind of the return over the past like 100 some events. And maybe...
So the current mid minus the previous mid. Okay, that's just calculating return.
That's an interesting feature.
What is the shape of the prediction?
That's an interesting feature. Okay, so they didn't give us too much here. Of course not. They're never going to give us too much, but it's something to think about. And I really like that point about, yes, your predictions may not be perfect, but if they're better than most traders, I'm gonna get all these copyright strikes because of this, though. so many sounds.
It's no exaggeration to say that AI is critical to HRT's success.
We've built models that are deployed in every asset class in the world, but also across like time horizon.
You can do really intellectually interesting research, like hard problems that are being solved, nowhere but HRT.
Every problem has as much depth as you want it to have, and things that will be impactful to the firm.
We need like the best researchers in the world to come here, research our existing models, and really push them even further than we think they can be taken now.
Teams at HRT. Okay, well, let's see if there was any alpha leaked in here.
No one gets into something a machine starts with in academia. Starts with given inputs. Every ML problem that you get in academia starts with given inputs X and outputs Y. And you're supposed to predict Y from X. there's no why here. No one's given you that. All we've gotten from the exchange is these like events that happen in real time. How do you turn those events into something a machine learning model can understand? What do you even predict? You can predict the future price that you can buy at, the future price you can sell at. You can predict some average of the two. It could be a classification problem, a regression problem. And that's all before you've even talked about the model. You haven't even gotten to like the definition of the problem yet. And there's already so much complexity. And then additionally, you are subject to incredibly tight latency constraints because first, these events are